All right. So as soon as I say I'm not going to do another one, wife's like, you got to read Works and Days because it's really good. It's a lot easier. All right, dude. So I guess I will. I'm going to do Works and Days by Hesiod, and it'll probably sound just as shitty as the last one, but I don't care. So, Works and Days. Muses from Piera, glorifying in songs, come here, telling hymns of your father Zeus, though whom mortal men are unfamed and famed alike, and named and unnamed by the will of great Zeus. For easily he strengthens, and easily he crushes the strong, easily he diminishes the conspicuous, and increases the inconspicuous, and easily he straightens the crooked, and withers the proud. High thundering Zeus, who dwells in the loftiest mansions, give ear to me, watching and listening, and straighten the verdicts with justice yourself. As for me, I will proclaim truths to Persis. There is not just one birth of strife, after all, but upon the earth there are two strifes. One of these a man would praise once he got to know it, but the other is blameworthy, and they have thoroughly opposed spirits. For the one fosters evil war and conflict, cruel one. No mortal loves that one, but it is by necessity that they honor the oppressive strife by the plans of the immortals. But the other one is gloomy, night bore first, and Cronus, his high throned son who dwells in the ether, set it in the roots of the earth, and it is much better for men. It rouses even the helpless man to work, for a man who is not working but who looks at some other man, a rich one who is hastening to plow and plant and set his house in order, he envies him, one neighbor envying his neighbor who is hastening towards wealth, and his strife is good for mortals. And potter is angry with potter, and builder with builder, and beggar begrudges beggar, and poet poet. Persis, do store this up in your spirit, lest gloating strife keep your spirit away from work, while you gawk at quarrels and listen to the assembly. For he has little care for quarrels and assemblies, whoever does not have plentiful means of life stored up indoors in good season. What the earth bears, Demeter's grain. When you can take your fill of that, when you might foster quarrels and conflict for the sake of another man's wealth, but you will not have a second chance to act this way. No, let us decide our quarrel right here with straight judgments, which come from Zeus, the best ones. For already we have divided up our allotment, but you snatched much more besides, and went carrying it off greatly, honoring the kings, those gift eaters who want to pass this judgment. Fools, they do not know how much more than half is than the whole, nor how great the boon is in Malo and Asphodel. For the gods keep the means of life concealed. Hold on. From human beings. Otherwise, you would easily be able to work in just one day so as to have enough for a whole year without working, and quickly you would store the rudder above the smoke, and the work of the cattle and of the hard-working mules would be ended. But Zeus concealed it, angry in his heart, because crooked-counseled Prometheus, forethought, had deceived him. For that reason he devised baneful evils for human beings, and he concealed fire, and the good son of Iapetus stole it back from the counselor Zeus in a hollow fennel stalk for human beings, escaping the notice of Zeus, who delights in the thunderbolt. But the cloud gatherer Zeus spoke to him in anger. Son of Iapetus, you who know counsels beyond all others, you are pleased that you have stolen fire and beguiled my mind, a great grief for you yourself and for men to come. To them shall I give in exchange for fire an evil in which they may all take pleasure in their spirit, embracing their own evil. So he spoke and laughed out loud, the father of men and of gods. He commanded renowned Hephaestus to mix earth and water as quickly as possible, and to put the voice and strength of a human into it, and to make a beautiful, lovely form of a maiden, similar in her face to the immortal goddesses. He told Athena to teach her crafts, to weave richly worked cloth, and golden Aphrodite to shed grace in painful desire and limb-devouring cares around her head, and he ordered Hermes, the intermediary, to the killer of Argus, to put a dog's mind and a thievish character into her. So he spoke, and they obeyed Zeus, the Lord Cronus' son. Immediately, the famous lame one fabricated out of earth a likeness of a modest maiden. By the plans of Cronus' son, the goddess, bright-eyed Athena, gave her a girdle and ornaments. The goddess's graces and queenly persuasion placed golden jewelry all around her body. The beautiful haired seasons crowned her all around with spring flowers, and Pallas Athena fitted the whole ornamentation to her body. Then to her breast the intermediary, the killer of Argus, set lies and guileful words, and a thievish character by the plans of deep thundering Zeus, and the messenger of the gods placed a voice in her and named this woman Pandora, all gift, since all those who have their mansions on Olympus had given her a gift. A woe for men who live on bread. I can't get this light right. Give me a second. Maybe right there. When he had completed the sheer intractable deception, the father sent the famous killer of Argus, the swift messenger of the gods, to take her as a gift to Epimetheus. Afterthought. And Epimetheus did not consider that Prometheus had told him never to accept a gift from Olympian Zeus, but to send it back again, lest something evil happens to mortals. It was only after he accepted her, when he already had the evil, that he understood. For previously the tribes of men used to live upon the earth entirely apart from evils, and without grievous toil and distressful diseases which give death to men. For in misery mortals grow old at once. But the woman removed the great lid from the storage jar with her hands and scattered all its contents abroad. She wrought baneful evils for human beings. Only anticipation remained there in its unbreakable home under the mouth of the storage jar, and did not fly out. For before that could happen, she closed the lid of the storage jar by plans of the aegis holder, the cloud gatherer, Zeus. But countless other miseries roam among mankind, for the earth is full of evils and the sea is full, and some sicknesses come upon men by day and others by night of their own accord, bearing evils to mortals in silence, since the counselor Zeus took their voice away. Thus it is not possible in any way to evade the mind of Zeus. If you wish, I shall recapitulate another story correctly and skillfully, and you lay it up in your spirit, how the gods and mortal humans being came about from the same origin. Golden was the race of speech-endowed human beings with the immortals who have their mansions on Olympus. Made first of all, they lived at the same time of Cronus when he was king in the sky, but like the gods, they spent their lives with the spirit, free from care and entirely apart from toil and distress. Worthless old age did not oppress them, but they were always the same in their feet and hands, and delighted in festivities, lacking in all evils, and they died as if overpowered by sleep. They had all good things. The grain-giving field bore crops of its own accord, much and unstinting, and they themselves, willing, mild-mannered, shared out the fruits of their labors together with many good things, wealthy and cheap, dear to the blessed gods. But since the earth covered up this race by the plans of great Zeus, they are fine spirits upon the earth, guardians of mortal human beings. They watched over judgments and cruel deeds, clad in invisibility, walking everywhere upon the earth, givers of wealth, and this kingly honor they received. Afterward, those who have their mansions on Olympus made a second race, much worse, of silver, like the golden one, neither in body nor in mind. A boy would be nurtured for 100 years at the side of his cherished mother, playing in his own house, a great fool. But when they reached adolescence and arrived at the full measure of puberty, they would live for a short time only, suffering pains because of their acts of folly. For they could not restrain themselves from wicked outrage against each other, nor were they willing to honor the immortals or to sacrifice upon the holy altars of the blessed ones, as is established right for human beings in each community. Then Zeus, Cronus' son, concealed these in anger because they did not give honors to the blessed gods who dwell on Olympus. But since the earth covered up his race too, they are called blessed mortals under the earth in second place, but all the same honor attends upon these as well. Zeus the father made another race of speech endowed human beings, a third one of bronze, not similar to the silver one at all, out of ash trees. Terrible and strong they were, and they cared only for the painful works of Ares and for acts of violence. They did not eat bread, but had a strong hatred spirit of adamant. Unapproachable they were, and upon their massive limbs grew great strength, and untouchable hands out of their shoulders. Their weapons were of bronze. Bronze were their houses. With bronze they worked. There was not any black iron, and these, overpowered by one another's hands, went down nameless into the dank house of chilly Hades. Black death seized them, frightful though they were, and they left behind the bright light of the sun. When the earth covered up this race too, Zeus, Cronus' son, made another one in turn upon the bounteous earth, a fourth one, more just as superior, the godly race of men heroes who are called demigods, the generation before our own upon the boundless earth. Evil war and dread battle destroyed these, some under seven-gated Thebes, in the land of Cadmus, while they fought for the sake of Oedipus' sheep. Others brought in boats over the great gulf of the Sea of Troy, to Troy, for the sake of fair-haired Helen. There the end of death shrouded some of them, but upon others Zeus, the father, Cronus' son, bestowed life and habitations far from human beings, and settled them at the limits of the earth, and these dwell with the spirit free of care on the islands of the blessed beside deep eddying ocean. Happy heroes for whom the grain-giving field bears honey, sweet fruit, flourishing 3 times a year. If only then I did not have to live among the fifth men, but could have either died first or been born afterward. For now the race is indeed one of iron, and they will not cease from toil and distress by day, nor from being worn out by suffering at night, and the gods will give them grievous cares. Yet all the same, for these people too good things will be mingled with evil ones. But Zeus will destroy this race of speech-endowed human beings too, when at their birth the hair of their temples will be quite gray. Father will not be like-minded and with sons, nor sons at all, nor guest with host, nor comrade with comrade, nor will the brother be dear as he once was. They will dishonor their aging parents at once. They will reproach them, addressing them with grievous words, cruel men who do not know of the gods' retribution, nor would they repay their aged parents for their rearing. Their hands will be their justice, and one man will destroy the other city. Nor will there be any grace for the man who keeps his oath, nor for the just man or the good one, but they will give more honor to the doer of evil and the outraged man. Justice will be in the hands, and reverence will not exist. But the man will harm the superior one, speaking with crooked discourses, and he will swear an oath upon them. And envy, evil-sounding, gloating, loathsome face will accompany all wretched human beings. Then indeed will reverence and indignation cover their beautiful skins with white mantles, leave human beings behind, and go from the broad path earth to the race of the immortals to Olympus. Baleful pains will be left for mortal human beings, and there will be no safeguard against evil. All right. And now I'll tell a fable to kings who themselves too have understanding. This is how the hawk addressed the colorful nightingale, carrying her high up among the clouds, gasping her with its claws while she wept piteously. Pierced by the cursed claws, he said to her forcefully, "Silly bird, why are you crying out? One far superior to you is holding you. You are going wherever I shall carry you, even if you are a singer. I shall make you my dinner. If I wish, I shall let you go." Or, Stupid he who would wish to contend against those stronger than he is, for he is deprived of the victory and suffers pains in addition to his humiliation. So spoke the swift flying hawk, the long-winded bird. As for you, Perseus, give heed to justice and do not foster outrageousness, for outrageousness is evil in a worthless mortal, and even a fine man cannot bear her easily, but encounters calamities and then is weighed down under her. The better road is the one towards what is just, passing her by on the other side. Justice wins out over outrageousness when she arrives at the end, but the fool only knows this after he has suffered. For at once oath starts to run along beside crooked judgments, and there is a clamor than when justice is dragged, where men, gift-eaters, carry her off and pronounce verdicts with crooked judgments. But she stays, weeping with the city and the people's abodes, clad in invisibility, bearing evil to the human beings who drive her out and do not deal straight. But those who give straight judgments to foreigners and fellow citizens and do not turn aside from justice at all, their city blooms and the people in it flower. For them, peace, the nurse of the young, is on the earth, and far-seeing Zeus never marks out painful war, nor does famine attend straight judging men, nor calamity, but they share out the festivities, the fruits of the labors they care for. For these the earth bears the means of life in abundance, and on the mountains the oak tree bears acorns on its surface and bees in its center. The woolly sheep are weighed down by their fleece, and their wives give birth to children who resemble their parents. They bloom with good things continuously, and they do not go onto ships, for the grain-giving field bears them crops. But to those who care only for evil outrageousness and cruel deeds, far-seeing Zeus, Cronus' son, marks out justice. Often even a whole city suffers because of an evil man who sins and devises wicked deeds. Upon them Cronus' son brings forth woe from the sky, famine together with pestilence, and the people die away. The women do not give birth, and the households are diminished by the plans of Olympian Zeus. At the other time Cronus' son destroys their broad army or their will, or he takes vengeance upon their ships on the sea. As for you, kings, to ponder this justice yourselves, for among human beings there are immortals nearby who take notice of all those who grind one another down with crooked judgments and have no care for the gods' retribution. Thrice 10,000 are Zeus's immortal, guardians of mortal human beings upon the bounteous earth, and they watch over judgments and cruel deeds, clad in invisibility, walking everywhere upon the earth. There is a maiden, Justice, born of Zeus, celebrated and revered by the gods who dwell on Olympus, and whenever someone harms her by crookedly scorning her, she sits down at once beside her father Zeus, Cronus' son, and proclaims the unjust mind of human beings, so that he will take vengeance upon the people for the wickedness of their kings, who think baneful thoughts and bend judgments to one side by pronouncing them crookedly. Bear this in mind, kings, and straighten your discourses, you gift-eaters, and put crooked judgments quite out of your minds. A man contrives evil for himself when he contrives evil for someone else, and an evil plan is most evil for the planner. Zeus's eye, which sees all things and knows all things, perceives this too, if he so wishes, and he is well aware just what kind of justice this is which the city has within it. Right now, I myself would not want to be a just man among human beings, neither I nor a son of mine, since it is evil for a man to be just if the more unjust one will receive greater justice. But I do not anticipate that the counselor Zeus will let things end up this way. Perseus, lay these things on your heart and give heed to justice, and put violence entirely out of your mind. This is the law that Cronus' son has established for human beings, that fish and beasts and winged birds eat one another, since justice is not among them, but to human beings he has given justice, which is the best by far. For if someone who recognizes what is just is willing to speak it out publicly, then far-seeing Zeus gives him wealth. But whoever willfully swears a false oath, telling a lie in his testimony, he himself is incurably hurt at the same time as he harms justice, and in after times his family is left more obscure, whereas the family of the man who keeps his oath is better in after times. To you, Perseus, you great fool, I will speak my fine thoughts. Misery is there to be grabbed in abundance easily, for smooth is the road and she lives very nearby. But in front of excellence the immortal gods have set sweat, and the path to her is long and steep and rough at first. Yet when one arrives at the top, then it becomes easy, difficult though it still is. The man who thinks of everything by himself, considering what will be better later and in the end, this man is the best of all. That man is fine too, the one who is persuaded by someone who speaks well. But whoever neither thinks by himself nor pays heed to what someone else says and lays it to his heart, that man is good for nothing. So Perseus, you of divine stock, keep working and always bear in mind our behest, so that famine will hate you, and whale garland Reverend Demeter will love you and fill your granary with the means of life. For famine is ever the companion of a man who does not work, and gods and men feel resentment against that man whoever lives without working, in his temper like stingless drones that consume the labor of the bees, eating it without working. But as for you, be glad to organize your work properly, so that your granaries will be filled with the means of life in good season. It is from working that men have many sheep and are wealthy, and if you work, you will be dearer by far to immortals and to mortals, for they very much hate men who do not work. Work is not a disgrace at all, but not working is a disgrace, and if you work, the man who does not work will quickly envy you when you are rich. Excellence and fame attend upon riches. Whatever sort you are by fortune, working is better. If you turn your foolish spirit away from other men's possessions towards work, taking care for the means of life as I bid you, shame is not good at providing for a needy man. Shame, which greatly harms men and also benefits them, for shame goes along with poverty and self-confidence goes along with wealth. Property is not to be snatched. God-given is better by far. For if someone grabs great wealth with his hands by violence or plunders it by means of his tongue, as often happens when profit deceives the mind of a human being and shamelessness drives shame away, then the god easily make him obscure, and they diminish that man's household, and wealth attends him for only a short time. It is the same if someone does evil to a suppliant or to a guest, or if he goes up to his own brother's bed, sleeping with his sister-in-law in secret, acting wrongly, or if in his folly he sins against orphan children, or if he rebukes his aged father upon the evil threshold of old age, attacking him with grievous words. Against such a man Zeus himself is enraged, and in the end he imposes a grievous return for unjust works. But as for you, keep your foolish spirit entirely away from these things, according to your capability. Make holy sacrifice to the immortal gods in a hallowed and pure manner, and burn splendid thigh pieces on the altar. At other times, seek propitiation with libations and burnt offerings, both when you go to bed and when the holy light returns, so that their heart and spirit will be propitious to you, so that you may barter for other people's allotment, not someone else for yours. Invite your friend to the feast, but let your enemy be. And above all, call whoever lives near to you. For if something untoward happen to your estate, your neighbor comes ungirt, but your in-laws gird themselves. A bad neighbor is a woe just as much as a good one is a great boon. Whoever has a share in a fine neighbor has a share in good value. Not even a cow would be lost if the neighbor were not bad. Measure out well from your neighbor and pay him back well, with the very same measure, and better if you can, so that if you are in need again, you will find him reliable later too. Do not seek profit evilly. Evil profit is as bad as calamities. Be friendly to your friend and go visit those who visit you, and Give to him who gives, and do not give to him who does not give. For one gives to a giver, but no one gives to a non-giver. Give is good, grab is bad, is a giver of death. Wait. Give is good, grab is bad, a giver of death. For whatever a man gives willingly, even it is much, he rejoices in the gift and takes pleasure in his spirit. But whoever snatches, relying upon them shamelessness, this congeals his own heart, even if it is little. Yeah, stop right there. All right. What lies stored up in the household does not cause a man grief. It is better for things to be at home, for what is outdoors is at risk. It is fine to take from what you have, but it is woe for the spirit to have need of what you do not have. I bid you take notice of this, for if you put down even a little upon a little and do this often, then this too will quickly become a lot. Whoever adds to what is already there wards off fiery famine. Take your fill when the storage jar is just opened or nearly empty. Be thrifty in the middle. Thrift in the less is worthless. Let the payment agreed for a man who is your friend be reliable, and smile upon your brother. But add a witness too, for both trust and distrust have destroyed men. Do not let a fancy-assed woman deceive your mind by guilefully cajoling you while she pokes into your granary. Whoever trusts a woman trusts swindlers. Let there be a single-born son to nourish the father's household. In this way wealth is increased in the halls, and may he die an old man, leaving behind one son in his turn. And yet Zeus could easily bestow immense wealth upon more people, more hands, more work, and the surplus is bigger. If the spirit in your breast longs for wealth, then act in this way, and work upon work. When the Atlas-born Pleiades rise, start the harvest, the plowing. When they set, they are concealed for 40 nights and days. But when the year has revolved, they appear once more, when the iron is being sharpened. This is the rule for the plains and for those who dwell near the sea, and those far from the swelling sea in the valleys and glens, fertile land. Sow naked and plow naked and harvest naked, if you want to bring in all of the meter's works in due season, so that each crop may grow for you in its season, lest being in need later you go as a beggar to other people's houses and achieve nothing. Just as now you have come to me, but I shall not give you anything extra, nor measure out extra for you. Work, foolish Perseus, at the works which the gods have marked out for human beings, lest someday, sorrowing in your spirit, together with your children and your wife, you seek a livelihood among your neighbors, but they pay no attention to you. For 2 times maybe, and 3 times you will succeed. But if you brother them again, you will accomplish nothing, but will speak a lot in vain, and rangeland of your words will be useless. I bid you take notice of how to clear your debts and how to ward off famine. A house first of all, a woman, and an ox for plowing. The woman, one you purchase, not marry, one who can follow with the oxen and arrange everything well in the house, lest you ask someone else and he refuse, and you suffer want, and the season pass by, and the fruit of your work be diminished. Do not postpone until tomorrow and the next day, for the Working man does not fill his granary, nor does the postponer. Industry fosters work, and the work postponing man is always wrestling with calamities. When the strength of the sharp sun ceases from its sweaty heat, as mighty Zeus sends the autumn rain, and a mortal skin changes with great relief, for that is when the star Sirius goes during the day only briefly above the heads of death-nurtured human beings, and takes a greater share of the night. At that time, wood that is cut with the iron is less bitten by worms, and it leaves fall to the ground, and it ceases putting forth shoots. So at that time be mindful and cut wood, a seasonable work. Cut a mortar 3 foot long, and a pedestal 3 cubits long, and an axle 7 feet long, for this way things will fit together Very well. If you cut a length 8 foot long, you could cut a mallet head from it too. Cut a 3 span broad quarter wheel for a 10 palm size cart. There are lots of bent timbers. Search for one on the mountain or through the fields, and if you find one of elm oak, take it into your house as a plow tree, for that wood stands up most strongly for plowing with oxen. Then Athena's servant has drawn it near and attached it to the yoke pole after having fastened it with pegs to the plow stalk. Toil hard to lay up a pair of plows in your house, one of a single piece, and put one and one put together, since it is much better this way. If you broke one, you could set the other one upon your oxen. Yoke poles of laurel or of elm are the least wormy. Of oak, the plow stock. Of holm oak, the plow tree. Acquire 2 oxen 9 years old, male, that have reached the measure of puberty, for their strength has not been drained yet away yet. They are best for working. They will not break the plow by contending with one another in the furrow, leaving the work futile right there. Together with these, a strong 40-year-old man should follow with the plow after he has breakfasted on a 4 piece 8 part loaf, someone who puts care into his work and will drive a straight furrow, no longer gaping after his age mates, but keeping his mind on his work. Always gets me on that last one. Another man, not a bit younger than him, is better for scattering the seeds and avoiding overseeding, for a younger man is all a flutter for his age mates. Take notice when you hear the voice of the crane every year calling from above out of the clouds. She brings the sign for plowing and indicates the season of winter rain, and this gnaws the heart of the man without oxen. That is the time to fatten the curving horned oxen indoors, for it is easy to say, give me a pair of oxen and a cart, but it is also easy to refuse, saying, there is already work at hand for my oxen. The man who is wealthy only in his mind says that he will put together his cart. The fool, he does not know this. 100 are the boards of a cart. Take care to lay them up in your house beforehand. When the plowing time first shows itself to mortals, set out for it, both your slaves and yourself, plowing by dry and by wet in the plowing season, hastening very early so that your fields will be filled. Turn the soil over in the spring, land left fallow in the summer will not disappoint you. Sow the fallow land while the field is still brittle. Fallow land is an averter of death, a soother of children. Pray to Zeus of the land and to the hollow Demeter to make Demeter's holy grain ripe and heavy as you begin plowing at the very start, when you have taken the end of the plow tail in your hand and have come down with the goad upon the oxen's backs while they draw the yoke pole by its leather strap. Just a little behind, let another man and a slave holding a mattock make toil for the birds by covering up the seed, for good management is the best for mortal human beings. Bad management is the worst. In this way, the ears of wheat will bend towards the ground in their ripeness. If afterwards the Olympian himself grants them a fine result, you will drive the spider webs away from the storage vessels, and I anticipate that you will rejoice as you draw on the means of life that are indoors. You will arrive at a bright spring in good shape, and will not gape at other people, but some other man will stand in need of you. If you plow the divine earth first, at the winter solstice you will harvest sitting down, covered in dust, grasping only a little with your hand and tying it together in opposite directions, not at all pleased, and you will carry it off in a basket. Few will admire you. But the mind of the ages holding Zeus is different at different times, and it is difficult for mortal men to know it. If you do plow late, this will be a remedy for you. When the cuckoo in the leaves of the oak tree first calls and gives pleasure to mortals on the boundless earth, if at that time Zeus reigns on the third day without ceasing, neither exceeding the hoofprint of an ox nor falling short of it, in this way the late plower will vie with the early plower. Bear everything well in mind. Mark well the bright spring when it comes, and the rain in good season. Pass by the bronze worker's bench and his warm lounge in the wintry season, when the cold holds men back from field work, but an unhesitating man could greatly foster his household, lest a bad, intractable winter catch you up altogether with poverty. Up together with poverty, and you rub a swollen foot with a skinny hand. A man who does not work, waiting upon an empty hope, in need of the means of life, says many evil things to his spirit. Hope is not good at providing for a man in need who sits in the lounge and does not have enough of the means of life. Point out to the slaves while it is still midsummer. It will not always be summer. Make huts for yourselves. All right. The month of Lannion, evil days, ox flayers, all of them, avoid it, and the frosts that are deadly upon the earth when Boreas blows, which stirs up the broad sea through horse racing Thrace when it blows upon it, and the earth and the forest bellow. It falls upon many lofty-leafed oaks and sturdy firs in the mountains, dales, and bends them down to the bounteous earth, and the whole immense forest groans aloud. The wild animals shiver and stick their tails under their genitals, even those whose skin is shadowed by fur. But, chilly as it is, it blows through them all, though their breasts are shaggy, and it goes through the hide of an ox, and this does not stop it, and it blows through the long-haired goat, but not at all through sheep does the force of the wind Boreas blow, for their fleece is plentiful. It makes the old man curved like a wheel, but it does not blow through the soft-skinned maiden who stays at the side of her dear mother inside the house, still ignorant of the works of golden Aphrodite. After washing her tender skin well and anointing herself richly with oil, she lies down in the innermost recess inside the house on a winter day. On a wintry day, when the boneless one gnaws its foot in its fireless house and dismal abodes, for the sun does not show it a range land towards which it can set out, but instead roams to the dark men's people and city, and shines more tardily for all the Greeks. And that is when the forest dwellers, horned and hornless alike, gnash their teeth miserably and flee through the wooded thickets, carrying in their spirit only for searching for shelter and finding sturdy hiding places down in the hollow of a stone. That is when they avoid the white snow and stalk about like a 3-footed mortal, whose back is broken and whose head looks down to the ground. And that is when you should put on a defense for your skin, as I bid you, a soft cloak and a tunic that reaches your feet. Wind plenty of woof and a puny warp, but this around you, so that your hairs do not tremble nor stand up straight shivering along your body. Bind around your feet well-fitting boots from the leather of a slaughtered ox, padded inside with felt when the seasonable cold comes. Stitch the skins of newly born kids together with their sinew of an ox, so that you can put it around your back as protection against the rain. Wear a well-made felt cap upon your head, so that you do not get your ears wet. From the dawn is chilly when Boreas falls still, and a dawn mist is stretched out upon the earth from the starry sky onto the wheat-bearing works of the blessed ones. Excuse me. A mist which is drawn up from ever-flowing rivers and is raised up on high above the earth by a blast of wind, and sometimes it rains towards evening, at other times it blows. Then Thracian Boreas drives thick clouds and wrote, forestall him, finish your work, and get home ahead of him, lest a shadowy cloud from heaven cover you round and make your skin wet and drench your clothes. Avoid this, for this is the most difficult month, wintry, difficult for livestock and difficult for human beings. At this time give half the usual rations to the oxen, but more to a man, for the long nights are a help. Bear these things in mind and balance the nights and days until the end of the year, when Earth, mother of all, brings forth her various fruit once again. When Zeus has completed 60 wintry days after the solstice, the star Arcturus is first seen rising, shining brightly just at dusk, leaving behind the holy stream of Oceanus. After this, Pandion's daughter, the dawn-lamenting swallow, rises in the light for human beings, and the spring begins anew. Forestall her, prune the vines first, for that way it is better. But when the house carrier climbs up from the ground on the plants, fleeing the Pleiades, there is no longer any digging for vines. Sharpen the scythes and rouse your slaves. Avoid shadowy seats and sleeping until dawn in the harvest season. When the sun withers the skin, make haste at that time and carry home the crops, getting up at sunrise so that your means of life will be sufficient. For dawn claims as its portion a third of the work. Dawn gives you a head start on the road, gives you a head start on your work too. Dawn, which when it shows itself sets many men on their way and puts the yoke on many oxen. When the golden thistle blooms and the chirping cicada sitting in a tree incessantly pours out its clear-sounding song from under its wings in the season of toilsome summer, at that time goats are fattest and wine is best and women are most lascivious. I can't say that word. Lascivious, and men are weakest, for Sirius parches their head and knees, and their skin is dry from the heat. At that time let there be a rock shadow and bibline wine, bread made with milk, cheese from goats that are just drying up, and the meat of a forest grazing cow that has not yet calved, and of newly born kids. Drink some gleaming wine, too, sitting in the shade when you have eaten to your heart's content with your face turned towards fresh blowing Zephyrus. First pour 3 portions from the water of an ever-flowing spring, running and unmuddied, then put in a 4th part of wine. Urge your slaves to winnow Demeter's holy grain when Orion's strength first shows itself in a well-aired place and on a well-rolled threshing floor. Bring it in properly with a measure in storage vessels. When you have laid up all the means of life well prepared inside your house, then I bid you turn your hired man out of your house and look for a serving girl without her own child, for a serving girl with a baby under her flank is a difficult thing, and get a jagged-toothed dog. Do not be sparing with its food, lest someday sleeping man steal your things from you. Bring in fodder and sweeping, so that there is plenty for the oxen and mules. Then let the slaves relax their knees and unyoke the pair of oxen. When Orion and Sirius come into the middle of the sky and rosy-fingered Dawn sees Arcturus, then Perseus pluck off all the grapes and take them home. Set them out in the sun for 10 days and 10 nights, then cover them up in the shade for 5. And on the 6th day draw out the gift of much cheering, Dionysus, into storage vessels. When the Pleiades and Hades, or Hyades, and the strength of Orion set, that is the time to be mindful of plowing in good season. May the whole year be well fitting in the earth. Let me see. But if desire for storm-tossed sea-faring sees you, when the Pleiades, fleeing Orion's mighty strength, fall into the murky sea, at that time blasts of all sorts of winds rage. Do not keep your boat any longer in the wine-dark sea at that time, but work the earth, mindful as I bid you. Draw up your boat onto the land and prop it up with stones surrounding it on all sides, so that they can resist the strength of the winds that blow moist, and draw out the bilge plug, so that Zeus's ring does not rot it. Lay up all the gear well prepared in your house after you have folded the sea-crossing boat's wings in good order, and hang up the well-worked rudder above the smoke. You yourself wait until the sailing season arrives, and then drag your swift boat down to the sea, arrange the cargo in it, and get it ready so that you can bring the prophet home, just as my father and yours, Perseus, you great fool, used to sail in boats, deprived as he was of fine means of life. Once he came here, too, after he had crossed over a big sea, leaving behind a Lolian Kyme in a black boat, fleeing not wealth nor riches nor prosperity, but evil poverty, which Zeus gives to men. And he settled near Helicon in a wretched village Escara, evil in winter, distressful in summer, not ever fine. As for you, Perseus, be mindful of all kinds of work in good season, but above all regarding seafaring. Praise a small boat, but place your load in a big one, for the cargo will be bigger and your profit will be bigger, profit on profit, if the winds hold back their evil blasts. If you in turn if you turn your foolish spirit to commerce and decide to flee debts and joyless hunger, I shall show you the measures of the much roaring sea. I, who have no expertise at all in either seafaring or boats, for never yet did I sail the broad sea in a boat, except to Euboea from Ulyss, where once the Achaeans, waiting through the winter, gathered together a great host to sail from holy Greece to Troy with its beautiful women. There I myself crossed over into Chalcis for the games of valorous Amphidamas. The great-hearted man's sons had announced and established many prizes, and there I declare I gained victory with a hymn and carried off a tripod with handles. This I dedicated to the Heliconian muses, where they first set me upon the path of clear-sounding song. This is as much experience of many bolted ships as I have acquired, yet even so I speak forth the mind of ages holding Zeus, for the muses taught me to sing in inconceivable hymns. All right, page 141. Sailing is in good season for mortals around 50 days after the solstice, when the summer goes to its end during the toilsome season. You will not wreck your boat then, nor will the sea down your men, so long as Poseidon, the earth shaker, or Zeus, king of the immortals, does not wish to destroy them. For in these gods is the fulfillment both of good and evil alike. That is, when breezes are easy to distinguish and the sea is painless, at that time entrust your swift boat confidently to the winds, drag it down to the sea, and put all your cargo into it. But make haste to sail back home again as quickly as possible, and do not wait for the new wine and the autumn rain, and the approaching winter, and the terrible blasts of Notus, which stirs up the sea, accompanying Zeus's heavy autumn rain, and makes the sea difficult. There is also another sailing for human beings in the springtime, at that time when a man thinks that the leaves at the top of the fig tree are as big as the footprint a crow leaves as it goes. The sea can first be embarked upon. This is the springtime sailing. As for me, I do not praise it, for it is not pleasing to my spirit. It is snatched only with difficulty would you escape evil. And yet human beings do this in the ignorance of their mind. For property is life for worthless mortals, yet it is a terrible thing to die among the waves. I bid you to take notice of all these things in your spirit as I speak them out publicly. Do not put all your means of life in hollow boats, but leave aside more and load the lesser part, for it is a terrible thing to encounter grief among the waves of the sea. Terrible, too, if by lifting an excessive weight onto your cart you wreck its axle and the load is ruined. Bear in mind measures. Rightness is the best in all things. Lead a wife to your house when you are in good season, neither falling very many years short of 30, nor having added very many. This is a marriage in good season for you. The woman should have reached puberty 4 years earlier, and in the 5th she should marry. Marry a virgin, so that you can teach her good habits, and above all, marry one who lives near to you, after you have looked around carefully in all directions, lest your marriage cause your neighbor's merriment. For a man acquires nothing better than a good wife, but nothing more chilling than a bad one, a dinner ambusher, one who sings her husband without a torch, powerful though he be, and gives him over to a raw old age. Bear well in mind the retribution of the blessed immortals. Do not treat a comrade in the same way as your brother, but if you do, then do not harm him first, nor give him a lying grace with your tongue. But if he begins telling you some word contrary to your spirit, or even doing some such thing, then be mindful to pay him back twice as much. But if he is led once again towards friendship and deceives to offer requital, accept it. For worthless is the man who makes now one man his friend, now another. Do not let your mind at all put to shame your outward appearance. Do not acquire the reputation of having many guests or of having none at all, neither that of being the companion of base men nor a reviler of fine ones. Do not ever dare to reproach a man with baneful spirit destroying poverty, the gift of the blessed ones that always are. Among men, the tongue that is the best treasure is a sparing one, and the most pleasure comes from a tongue that goes according to measure. If you say evil, soon you yourself will hear it more, and do not be storm tossed in your mood at a dinner with many guests when things are shared in common. The pleasure is the most, and the expense is the least. And do not ever pour a libation of gleaming wine at dawn to Zeus or the other immortals with unwashed hands, for they do not listen, but spurn the prayers. And do not urinate standing up facing the sun, but be mindful to do so after it sets and before it rises. But even so, do not completely bury yourself, for the nights belong to the blessed ones. And do not urinate while you are walking on the road or off the road. It is crouching that the God-fearing man who knows wisdom does it, or after he has approached towards the wall of a well-fenced courtyard. And inside the house, do not reveal your genitals besmirched with intercourse near the hearth, but avoid this. And do not sow offspring when you come home from an ill-spoken funeral, but from a dinner of the immortals. And do not ever urinate into the streams of rivers that flow down towards the sea, nor onto fountains. Avoid this entirely, and do not defecate into them, for that is not better. And do not cross one foot the fair pouring water, and do not cross on foot the fair pouring water of ever flowing rivers before you have prayed, looking into the beautiful stream and washed your hands with lovely clear water. Whoever crosses a river unwashed in evil and in his hands, against him the gods feel resentment, and they give him pains afterwards. And during the festival, the dinner of the gods, do not cut the dry from the living, from the five brancher with the gleaming iron, and do not ever put the ladle on top of the wine bowl while people are drinking, for a baneful fate is established for this. And do not leave a house unfinished when you make it, lest a screaming crow sit upon it and croak. And do not take from undedicated cauldrons to eat or wash yourself, since upon these things too there is punishment. And do not seat a 12-day-old boy upon things that cannot be moved, for that is not better. It makes a man unmanly, nor a 12-month man. It makes a man unmanly, nor a 12-month-old one. This too is established in the same way. And do not clean a man's skin in a woman's wash water, for there is a dismal punishment upon this too for a time. And do not carp destructively at burning sacrifices when you encounter them, for a god feels resentment against this too. Act this way. Avoid the wretched talk of mortals, for talk is evil. It is light to raise up quite easily, but it never is difficult to bear and hard to put down. No talk is ever entirely gotten rid of once many people talk it up. It too is some god. Bear well in mind the days that come from Zeus, and point them out accordingly to their portion to the slaves. The 30th of the month is the best for watching over the works and distributing the rations. People celebrate it because they distinguish the truth. These are the days that come from Counselor Zeus. To begin with, the first, the fourth, and the seventh, a holy day, for on the last Leto gave birth to Apollo with his golden sword. And on the 8th and the 9th, 2 days of the waxing month are outstanding for toiling at a mortal's work. The 11th and the 12th, both of them are fine for shearing sheep and for gathering together the gladdening wheat. But the 12th is much better than the 11th. It is on that day that the high-flying spider spins its web in the fullness of the day, and the canny ones gathers together its heap. On that day, a woman should raise her loom and set up her work. For beginning with the sowing, avoid the 13th day after the month begins, and yet it is the best one for getting your plants bedded in. The middle 6th day is very unfavorable for plants, but good for a man to be born. But it is not favorable for a maiden, neither to be born in the first place, nor to get married. Nor is it the first 6th day fitting for a maiden to be born, but it is a kind day for castrating kids and rams, and for fencing in an enclosure for the flocks. And it is fine for a man to be born. Such men are fond of speaking mockery and lies and guileful words and hidden whispers. On the 8th day of the month, castrate a boar and a loud bellowing bull, hard working mules on the 12th. On the great 20th, in the fullness of the day, a wise man is born. His mind will be very sagacious. The 10th is fine for a man to be born, for a maiden, the middle fourth. On that day, place your hand upon sheep and rolling footed, curving horned oxen, and a jagged toothed dog, and hard working mules, and tame them. Bear in mind to avoid the 4th day, both of the waning month and of the beginning one, spirit devouring pains. This is a particularly authorized day. On the 4th day of the month, lead a wife to your house after you have distinguished the bird omens that are the best for this kind of work. Avoid the 5th days, since they are difficult and dread, for they say that it was on the 5th day that Aranis attended upon oath as it was born. Oath with strife bore as a woe to those who break their oath. On the middle 7th day, inspect Demeter's holy grain very well and winnow it on a well rolled threshing floor. And the woodcutter should cut boards for a bedchamber and many planks for a boat, ones which are well fitting for boats. On the 4th, begin to build narrow boats. The middle 9th is a better day towards evening, but the 5th, 9th is entirely harmless for human beings. It is a fine day, and to be born, and never is that day entirely evil. Then again, few know that the thrice 9th day is the best of the month for starting in on a storage jar, and for placing a yoke on the neck of oxen and mules and swift footed horses, and for drawing a swift, many benched boat down to the wine dark sea. Few call things truthfully. On the middle 4th, open a storage jar. Beyond all others, it is a holy day. Then again, few know that the 21st is the best of the month. At daybreak towards evening, it is worse. These days are a great boon for those on the earth, but the others are random, doomless. They bring nothing. One man praises one kind of day, another, but few are the ones who know. One time, one of these days is a stepmother, another time, a mother. Happy and blessed is he who knows all these things and does his work without giving offense to the immortals, distinguishing the birds and avoiding the trespasses.